Welcome to the Mayor's Commission for Citizens with Disabilities May meeting. For those of you that have not joined us before, the Commission exists to promote quality of life, accessibility, and equality in all aspects related to the City of Omaha, and on behalf of and in cooperation with the citizens of Omaha who experience disabilities. To this end, the Commission will advise the mayor on issues of access, representation, employment, housing, and quality of life affecting city citizens with disabilities and their respective families. We'll serve as a resource for Omaha citizens with disabilities and their families to express concerns and resolutions regarding issues affecting them. We will publicize to the citizens of Omaha the role of the mayor's Advisory Commission for Citizens with Disabilities and the resources available to assist citizens with disabilities and their families, employers, housing representatives, business owners, engineers, and architects, and others who have a role in bettering the life of Omaha citizens. Serve as an advocate for accessibility issues at public buildings and infrastructure governed by city codes and ordinances, and issues affecting employment of disabled persons in city government, and recommend to the mayor policies to improve accessibility and employment with the city for citizens with disabilities. We are coming from a planning meeting, and this is being recorded and televised for guests on at 5 p.m. every Monday evening on Channel 22. And you can also view the meeting at the Disability Commission's website, which is www.cityofomaha.org. And then you click on the mayor's office and then click on Disabilities Commission. We will have announcements as our time allows as we wrap up today. We're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves to the audience. We have guests virtually online joining us. I'm Megan Walls. I'm currently the chair for the commission. I represent work under Assistology, a local brand, and also the Center for Disability Inclusion. Works with businesses on disability inclusion efforts. And I bring my background and lens kind of from an all ages, all environments perspective to advise in that role. Natalie?
Hi, I'm Natalie Simmons. I'm Secretary of the Mayor's Commission for Citizens with Disabilities. I'm a writer and a grant writer, and I am a mental health advocate on the commission.
Ashley?
Hello, my name is Ashley Altman, and I am representing Nebraska Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, and also Vice Chair for this commission.
Nancy?
And I'm Nancy Floral. I retired from the Nebraska Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, and so I'm here representing visually impaired, blind, and deafblind.
Awesome. Joining us online, Ralph?
Hi, I'm Ralph Kellogg. I am the Vice President of People and Training at Lutheran Family Services. I do a lot of mental health advocacy work within the community, and I am a commission member.
Awesome, thank you. Nina?
Hi everyone, I'm Nina Nizar. I'm a patient living with a rare skeletal condition known as Jansen's disease. I run a foundation, a nonprofit for this condition. I'm here representing people with disability. I'm also an advocate in this space, and I work for a large CRO that produces treatments for ultra rare diseases, and I advocate for the community, rare disease community, and for people with disabilities. Thank you.
Awesome. And Andre?
Hello, my name is Andre Partridge. I am a fairly recent graduate from the University of Nebraska in Omaha. I'm also a active volunteer for Pink Lowe's Project of Nebraska, a nonprofit organization to help breast cancer survivors, specifically Black women in the Black community, which is my mom's organization, Tees of Heart and Partridge. And I'm also uh, the autistic representative for people with autism in Omaha, Nebraska for the committee. So I'm also autistic myself. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. We do have a quorum today, so in our pre-meeting, we approved minutes from our previous meeting, from previous sessions, and had some discussions about events and programming that we're working through planning. At this time, I'm going to welcome our presenter, Linda Murillo Kennedy with the Kim Foundation, to talk with us about mental health, because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I'll turn it over to you, Kim.
Hello, and thank you for having me today. My name is Linda Murillo Kennedy with the Kim Foundation. I'm the program specialist, and today I would like to present on mental health awareness. I will share my screen. And let's see, here we go. There we go. So I'd like to introduce what the Kim Foundation does. We were founded in 2001 by Larry Courtnidge after his daughter Kim Courtnidge died by suicide in the 80s. And he recognized that there was a need for change in the mental health landscape, which is why he brought together this organization to provide resources to the greater Omaha community and also Nebraska. And what we try to do is we deliver prevention and post-suicide support programming in the community. We support local nonprofits in training and advocacy and grants, and we also increase awareness about mental health and suicide prevention through events, initiatives, and education. Speaking of initiatives, I'd like to highlight a couple of them. Listed are quite a few that we do, but I'd like to highlight the Metro Area Loss Team and the Metro Area Suicide Prevention Coalition. Something that's special about the Kim Foundation is the Metro Area Loss Team is local outreach to suicide survivors, and it is a post-vention effort to provide support to those who have also lost someone by suicide. And the Metro Area Suicide Prevention Coalition is a partnership with school officials, law enforcement, mental health practitioners, and businesses that come together to develop initiatives to stop suicide. So in examining mental health data and trends, it's important to note that 1 in 5 adults in the United States experience a mental illness in a given year. And we look at these trends to determine target populations for programming. So here are some gender disparities in mental health. Women are 2 times as likely than men to experience anxiety, depression, and self-image issues, while men are 2 more times likely to have substance abuse disorders and impulse control disorders like kleptomania and conduct disorder such as gambling. And according to the World Health Organization, depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide. Other mental health issues in females, eating disorders, majority are females, usually teens and young women. There's also increased self-injury. They're twice as likely in women. It's due to varying ways that the genders cope with psychological distress. Men are 3 times more likely to die by suicide, while women are 1.8 times more likely to attempt. Again, women are twice as likely to have anxiety disorders. And there's also perimenopause and postpartum depression, which can affect the way that hormones are in the body and can make the onset of these kind of conditions more likely. And so we want to look at why these issues appear, especially in women and females. There's unrealistic standards of beauty, genetics, emotional dysregulation. If there is trauma or abuse that has been experienced, or physical or sexual violence, then these issues can be predominant. And we also look at the disparities in the LGBTQ plus community. 45% of youth in the community seriously considered suicide in the past year. 69% of youth in Nebraska specifically reported experiencing symptoms of anxiety. 57% of youth in Nebraska of the community reported experiencing symptoms of depression. and 45% of youth in Nebraska who wanted mental health care were not able to access it. And so we wonder why. Many times, part of the contributing factors are bullying, discrimination, rejection, isolation, shame, victimization. And I do want to emphasize that identity does not cause mental health conditions, that typically it's the societal response to people in the LGBTQ community. Now noting special at-risk populations, Native Americans have the highest rate of suicide, that is non-Hispanic or non-white and Black. Other Americans with higher than average rates of suicides are veterans, people who live in rural areas, and workers in certain industries and occupations like mining and construction. And there has been the biggest increase seen in the Black youth community of 10 to 17 ages, while the Hispanic community has increased steadily over the past 10 years, and they are also less likely to receive mental health treatment than white adults. I'd also like to note something not mentioned on this slide is that 1 in 4 people have a disability, and those with a disability are 4 times as likely to attempt suicide, and over 3 times have greater odds of transitioning from thinking to attempting. This is a chart of the suicide rates for racial and ethnic groups. The chart shows the disproportional numbers affecting Native populations, while men 75 and older have the highest rate, and white men comprise about 80% of suicide deaths per year. Then again, I would like to reiterate the rural, veterans, and construction and mining. And now that I've shared some of the data and high-risk groups, we'll look at the reasons why only 50% of those with mental illness access care. So there are barriers to accessing care. Many times people face stereotypes and discrimination, such as negative attitudes, negative attitudes such as thinking that the mentally ill are not competent, they are unpredictable, violent, etc. This is seen in the media and online portrayals. There's also laws and institutional barriers, systems or policies that affect opportunities. There's sometimes lack of funding and support. And lastly, negative stigmas. There is cultural, gender norms, societal beliefs, family values that can affect someone's ability to either seek accessing care or their ability to be able to find care. There are also the effects of stigma and discrimination. Stigma and discrimination can lead to non-adherence to treatment or shame. There's an increased risk of relapse. There are fewer opportunities for work, school, social activities, employment, and it can adversely affect physical health, lead to disease, utilization of care, and adherence to medical regimens. So one of the ways that we advocate in changing and reducing the stigma towards mental health is in the way that we use language. So we like to use person-centered first language. So instead of saying something like my bipolar aunt, we would say my aunt that has bipolar disorder. We also like to change the casual terminology for death, using only that kind of terminology if you are serious or at risk or in crisis. Many times I hear among youth populations, they say something along the lines of, oh my God, I failed my test, I'm going to kill myself. And so we encourage youth not to use that kind of language unless they are actually in crisis and seeking help. Also using terms like that's insane. We never know what kind of triggers people may have, what conditions they may have that could potentially trigger them or affect them by using that kind of language. And so we encourage the use of alternate words such as bizarre, wild, bananas. And lastly, committed suicide. We use the phrase died by suicide because committing suicide, or to say that commit suicide, ignores that suicide is often the result of an unidentified mental crisis, and it evokes thoughts such as committing a crime, committing a sin, that it's morally reprehensible. And it's important to note that 90% of those who die by suicide are experiencing a mental health crisis. That being said, there is hope. In 2022, among 59.3 million adults with any mental illness, 30 million, or 50.6%, received mental health treatment in the past year. And out of those, 80 to 90% of people with depression eventually respond well to treatment. And there are a variety of treatments for a mental health condition so that people do not have to feel limited in their choices. You can approach it through holistic healing, medication, therapies and counseling, hospital treatment, or peer-to-peer support groups. And the more that people seek treatment, these statistics can change to reflect healthier attitudes towards mental health. Supports and resources, as far as regarding policies, there's a Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act, which requires insurance coverage for mental health conditions and substance use disorders to be no more restrictive than insurance coverage for other medical conditions. The Americans with Disability Act prohibits discrimination. The Affordable Care Act makes health insurance more affordable and accessible. And HIPAA protects privacy and security of health information. Additionally, coordinated efforts and resources nationally, there is the 988 Lifeline, National Alliance on Mental Health, Illness, NAMI, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA. There are resources, additionally, that I mentioned that are national or community-based. Again, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline 988. There is also a Nebraska Family Helpline, the Trevor Project, which serves LGBTQA+ youth and community, the Crisis Text Line, the Boys Town National Hotline, and then websites listed are More Tomorrows, Nebraska, and the Kim Foundation, Trevor Project, Nebraska Mental Health, Your Life, Your Voice, which is accessible via email, text, chat, or live messaging. And so one of the ways that we like to let the community know that they can help is, especially if they suspect someone may be in crisis, is to know the signs. Research has shown that the most effective way an individual can prevent suicide is to know and recognize the warning signs. Secondly, taking any comment seriously. As mentioned previously, we want to make sure that when people are using language about death, it's not casual, but so that we can take it seriously. Because any comment about suicide, dying, or wishing they weren't here, pointless list should be taken seriously and a conversation needs to be had. Lastly, if you have someone who you suspect is in crisis or suicidal, they should never be left alone, even if they claim they won't hurt themselves. It's important to connect them to 988, or a trusted adult, or a medical professional. More information on the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Since launching in 2022, they received nearly 10.8 million contacts. They offer free and confidential support for anyone in crisis, and that includes people who need support for a suicidal, mental health, or substance use crisis, or those who are just in emotional distress. Lastly, the Kim Foundation also advocates for mental health awareness and suicide prevention through lethal means safety. We offer lethal means safety materials to anyone who may need them, and we have gun locks, medication lock boxes, and travel bags, doTERRA packs, which inactivate medications, and safety plans. If anyone is interested in those materials, you can call our office at 402-891-6911 to get free materials, or I will also be here afterwards if anyone would like to approach me. And I'd like to thank you all for your time. Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
All right. So I was just wondering, because I didn't get a chance to note it down, could you repeat the statistics around the disability population?
Absolutely. Here we go. So according to the World Health Organization, depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide. And then 1 in 4 people have a disability, and those with a disability are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide and have over 3 times greater odds of transitioning from thinking of attempting suicide to attempting suicide.
They're 4 times greater to what? I'm sorry.
Attempt.
4 times greater.
Suicide?
Yep.
And then 3 times greater odds to move from thinking to acting.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. I had not heard that before. And my other question, I think maybe going back to your slide with the different initiatives that the Kim Foundation has.
Sure.
If you could highlight any of them or talk a little bit about what services you might offer to businesses that want to do some mental health awareness, or how you work with businesses to either spread awareness, provide resources, those types of things.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. That's a wonderful question. Part of our initiatives is that we offer free trainings to the community, to businesses, to anyone who wants to learn more about mental health awareness or suicide prevention. And we've partnered in the past with schools and OPS. We have an initiative to launch a peer-to-peer model of mental health group after school program for youth. And we also have a Be There initiative, so they can be here for more tomorrows. What we do is we have coasters that we send out to restaurants, businesses that serve food or drink, bars that say be there, and on the other side they have resources for recognizing either suicide warning signs, how to start the conversation, resources for those in crisis. And so that's one of the ways that we also partner with businesses.
Awesome, thank you. My last question, then I'll stop and let other people ask. Do you have kind of any coined responses or resources to recommend when you have families that are resistant to acknowledging mental health as a thing, for lack of a better phrase? So, if there's this perception that if we talk about a mental health condition, it's going to cause it or make my kid, if we talk about anxiety, my kid's going to get anxiety, because rather than having the words for how they feel, they view it as manifesting it, so where would you direct families, or what kind of information could we direct them to if we run into those kinds of conversations?
That's a wonderful question. As far as communities or resources that exist in the community for destigmatizing mental health is what it sounds like you're asking. I'm not aware of those besides us that work to destigmatize it in the community. I'm sure there are, but what I mean is that what we do at the Kim Foundation is we offer those free trainings on mental health awareness. And so we'll talk about topics like anxiety and depression, and we work to normalize it through not only the language that we use, but also debunking myths, such as if you talk about suicide, someone will commit suicide. And so really educating individuals to either do research, be more compassionate, and to try to listen to those with lived experience without judgment.
Do you, I know I said I was going to stop, I'm sorry, but just kind of a follow-up, like with the stuff that you do with schools, I know you mentioned kind of the peer-to-peer, but do you partner with guidance counselor teams to do any sort of like ongoing programming, or what other type of supports might you offer in partnership with the schools?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a wonderful chance for me to talk about our Youth Advisory Council. The Metro Area Youth Advisory Council is an opportunity for any youth in the Omaha metro area to join our council. And it's for those who are passionate about mental health awareness initiatives and making a difference in their community. And so we do let counselors know and schools know that this group exists. And we have monthly meetings where we work on either social media campaigns or giving back to the community through volunteering. And so that's one way that we also partner with schools and counselors, is to include youth in that kind of initiative and organization. And we also will work with the school's Hope Squads if they have existing Hope Squads. We have tabled during their Hope Week, and so that's a way to spread information to the general student population as they're going throughout their day. They stop by our table or they're on their way to lunch, and we tell them about ourselves. We also tell them about our Youth Advisory Council.
Awesome. Thank you. Other questions?
Do you do anything for the older? Do you do anything for the middle-aged or older adult populations?
As far as like support groups or trainings, or what in particular?
Yeah, just anything.
Yeah, like I said, our trainings are free and provided to anyone who asks for them. We don't have a limit on a population, an age group, whether it's a business, a school, or whatever organization. As far as if they were wanting to get involved, we're always open to volunteers. If they're in need of support due to having lost someone to suicide, there's our metro area loss team. If they would like to go beyond volunteering and try to be part of changing the landscape of mental health and preventing suicide in the community, there's our metro area suicide prevention coalition. So those are the ones that I would recommend.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So kind of a follow-up, I guess. So of your initiatives, are any of them geared towards adults specifically, or are the non-school or youth ones open like to all ages? I guess kind of understanding the populations of the different initiatives.
Sure. So our different initiatives kind of do target different age groups. For example, Be There, which works with restaurants and bars in particular, is an older demographic, obviously, people who are of drinking age and above. There's our Nebraska School Mental Health Conference, which is geared towards adults, but it's anyone within the mental health industry that works in schools, or anyone in schools, whether it's para resource officers that want to learn more about mental health and change that landscape. And then our More Tomorrows, which is actually turning into Brighter Tomorrows, is an initiative to just spread mental health awareness generally.
I had a question, if I could. I'm wondering too, speaking of the LGBTQ population, of which I happen to be a member, knowing that as an LGBTQ person, or people in communities of LGBTQ age, they're sometimes forced to go back into the closet to receive medical care or to receive rehabilitative care. Does the Kim Foundation know of or offer resources for LGBTQ seniors specifically that you're aware of?
Not off the top of my head. However, on our website, if you go to our tab at the top of the screen that says I need help, we do have a search engine, which has a feature to filter it according to different demographics, different age groups. And so there is a LGBTQ plus icon that you can click, and it will list providers or services and organizations that are local. You can also filter it to national. And it will list those that cater specifically towards that community.
Great, thank you.
This is Ashley. I have a couple follow-up questions. One is a follow-up from Megan's question dealing with adults and people in general. And so as far as your initiatives, I wanted to know, are there anything or resources that you do with specifically people with a disability for health, like health initiatives, just in general? So I guess, like, for example, you were saying that people who are deaf and deafblind would actually experience a higher percentage of possibly either ideation or killing themselves, suicide ideology. Is there anything that you do because of the barriers that they have for them as far as language? Or I'm sure that there are several other barriers that people experience with a disability. So I'm wondering, do you have anything in regards to focus on people with disabilities in that realm?
At this time, we are recognizing a need for more resources to serve the community of individuals with disabilities. And so we don't have anything specifically towards that community, but it is something that we are happy to look into.
And then my second question is, Ralph talked about the LGBTQ community. Wondering the statistics that you mentioned for that community. You said there was 45. I'm trying to find that statistic
Sure.
again.
Here, I can pull it up as well. Here we go.
Yes, okay, so that one said 45% of youth that need mental illness help, whatever that was that you're talking about, getting resources and help. So in Omaha, are there specific resources, and is this just in general around the state, or where is this number from?
This is from the Trevor Project, and it's for Nebraska as a whole. As far as resources specific to Omaha for LGBTQ plus youth, I am aware of one. Unfortunately, I'm blanking on the name, but I would be happy to find that information for you and connect after.
I think that might be Omaha for Us.
Yes.
I think that might be the organization to which you're thinking.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so, but that is not really, I guess, the best answer for my question. I want to know about this specific community, LGBTQ, that are they experiencing more barriers to receiving help in the area, or where can they, like, that's fine in the Omaha area, the metro area, but what about in the western part of the state? Are there, because of just the rural part, are there more barriers? So are these resources more in the east side of the state, or do you have them in the west side? Also, I see that this talked about statistics around Nebraska, but I think that sometimes are those other rural areas, are they struggling more? So do you have any information on that?
Thank you for asking. That is a fantastic question. Unfortunately, we are limited in the statistics that we have regarding LGBTQ plus populations, especially in rural areas of Nebraska. I do imagine that it is due to underreporting. Many times, I believe those youth would be afraid to out themselves in communities that are not accepting. And so there are a variety of reasons, I imagine, that can affect our ability to report on those statistics or be able to obtain that data. So I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you.
And that's fine, that's fine. Thank you.
Ashley, do you have any more questions right now?
No.
No. Okay. I just wanted to kind of plant a seed, as Ashley had asked about initiatives or services to help alleviate barriers for people with disabilities in accessing the services or the initiatives. We as a commission would be a great collaborator as you work to think about what that could look like, or what that initiative could look like within the Kim Foundation, or how to start going about that. I won't speak for the individuals on the commission specifically, but as a commission, that would be a great opportunity for us to work together and support that conversation and that effort. So outside of a meeting like this, coming together with your team to offer insights or things like that. So as you think about that, don't forget about us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We are always open to partnering with different organizations, commissions, whether it be to support as many people as possible with mental health awareness and suicide prevention. So I would love that, and I believe the rest of my team would as well.
Yeah.
And this is Nancy. I second that. I think we were all nodding our head, Megan, because that's what we're about. It's about helping address barriers for individuals And so we would love to partner with you. I do have a question. It goes back to what Natalie was asking about older individuals. I think you had a statistic about some older individuals.
Yes, it was that
The
white
print
men
is so
75
small
and
here, I can't
older.
read it.
You were talking about, well, one statistic you had was,
Was it for men or?
well, I heard one about perimenopause. Women in perimenopause was one that I heard.
I don't
That's
know if
one
you
that's-
can go back to that slide. I
Sure.
can't read it on the printout because it's too small.
Oh, wait, sorry. Here we go.
and postpartum
Men.
depression.
So I was just wondering about the outreach, because I mean, a lot of older individuals that are maybe even approaching retirement, a lot of them might have at least one disability. They might have mental health, and depression. They have life changes and that. So what kinds of resources, are in educating, the area aging services, et cetera, on depression and suicide and that.
As far as you're asking for resources in the area for older populations?
Yeah, and then maybe what you do in partnering with other, maybe aging services to raise their awareness of the services, but also the statistics.
Unfortunately, I'm not very familiar with organizations locally that serve the older populations. As far as what we do, again, is we like to spread education through trainings. And one that we have done, a training on anxiety and depression to help people recognize what those look like and when to seek help. And we've done that for various different groups, but recently we did it with a church group that predominantly catered to the older residents and the older congregation.
Okay. Because there's a lot of senior sites around the city of Omaha, where individuals can attend. That's a great possible. They're always looking for programs.
Thank you.
And that might be a really good program to help raise awareness. So people that are there, they might recognize something about somebody else that's attending, and that becomes a red flag. But, we can also share some of those aging services contacts with you.
Thank you. I would appreciate that.
I was wondering if I could ask a follow-up question or make a follow-up statement to that. So I'm trained in QPR, which is question, persuade, refer. It's a suicide prevention program. Does the Kim Foundation partner with organizations like QPR, or are you aware of organizations like QPR to also help get your message out to the community?
So as far as trainings that we can offer that are not just spreading awareness or education for more, I guess, so we do have one on our staff who is trained to train others on mental health first aid.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do that for adults and for youth. And recently we were also Be There certified, which is another mental health awareness and organization certification to recognize when someone is in crisis and to help.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, I know there are other programs. I was just curious.
Awesome. Andre or Nina, any questions for Linda?
No, not for me.
No, nothing for me.
Okay, awesome. Natalie, Nancy, Ashley? No? I think I've exhausted my questions as well. This has been really informative and I think also given us some things to think about in ongoing ways that we can support your efforts, and we'll follow up. Natalie has your email address so we can get some of those resources, because I do, to Nancy's point, some of the programming that is run, even at something like the Intercultural Senior Center. Especially sometimes the older generation finding is this is not something that they grew up talking about, and so there's a lot of stigma and resistance to treatment and things like that, which I know, personally from my own family life experience, then manifests in unhealthy ways, turning into substance abuse disorders to manage things. So I think there's a lot of education that can be done in those. So, connecting with those entities, I think, would help your mission to educate and reach. And then, however, we can support you in your conversations around connecting and developing resources for specifically to remove barriers for people with disabilities in this space is something we'd like to come back and talk with you all about too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so
Thank you.
much, Linda.
Awesome. Looking at our agenda, the old business was kind of our subcommittee reports. We talked a little bit about it. We don't have a ton of subcommittees going on right now, kind of for general information, just letting you all know. We've taken it on as a commission to work on elevating the visibility of Disability Pride Month in the Omaha area. And so we're working on some ideas and plans for that we will be able to share out once we have something solidified. But an exciting thing that we're hoping to see take place in Omaha. Are there any other subcommittee reports? I don't think so. Ralph or Nina or Andre, anything that comes to mind for you on things you were looking into, or
No, not at this time.
No, nothing.
Unfortunately, not at the moment.
Okay, and then new business, anything to discuss for the group? Okay. Member announcements or activities that are coming up, events, festivals. I might think of more as we go, but I do want to share kind of it's not really an event or announcement, but just kind of an exciting development for the city. I was part of a project team for a new multifamily housing community development that'll be called the Poppleton Development over on 24th and Poppleton, spearheaded by In Common Community Development. And we had groundbreaking yesterday. It's set to open in May of 2026, so a year from now. But what's exciting about it is they're on a mission to help with dignified, affordable housing in the urban centers. But this specific project embraced the Kelsey design standards for accessibility and inclusion. And so the entire space and all of the units are designed in a way to support multiple types of lifestyles, but to be accommodating to the needs of residents with disabilities and flex, and not need heavy modifications to make them fully accessible. And so it's kind of be the first kind of multifamily in the area that's also, it's affordable and highly accessible and near transportation. So I just want to make sure that people keep an eye out, because it's got, there'll be 2 phases to it. So one phase will go up in May, and then next May, and another phase coming, but it'll be quite a few units. And yeah. So other activities, announcements, accessible sports camps or things going on?
I was going to say, what about the playground?
Oh, the playground. Yes. So if you've been following us along for like the past like 5 years, we've been talking about the Zorinsky Lake Inclusive Playground project, and it is fully under construction, and all of the equipment is in, and we're just working on getting the rubber surfacing in and final pieces. It is tentatively estimated to be finished by June 1. So very close to finish. And we'll have a bigger kind of ribbon cutting celebration in coordination with the city. But yes, it is finally. So if you're paying attention to this, go check it out this summer. Yeah. Nina, Andre, Ralph, any announcements for programs or activities that you know of?
No.
No.
Yeah. Are you guys hiring, Ralph?
Always.
So Lutheran Family Services is where Ralph is. So
Yes. Always hiring. Yes.
Natalie, know of anything?
Not at the moment.
Okay. I can't think of anything else right now, so we will kind of head to our wrap up a little early. Thanks to our sign language interpreter for our assistance. Thanks to Cox Communications for taping and broadcasting this. Again, it's on channel 20, Cox Channel 22, every Monday evening at 5 p.m. and live during our events, our meetings on that same channel. Our next scheduled meeting is July 17th from 11 to 12 a.m. or 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And
Is it at 10:30?
we meet at 10:30. Yep. So broadcasted started at 11. Sorry, we meet at 10:30. Open meeting, so come down and join us. Come say hi. And any last words?
I don't
Thank
have
you.
anything.
No. Okay. With that, we will adjourn.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry.